Assembly Bill 2426 was introduced with the aim of protecting consumers from false advertising in digital goods. Some Steam accounts are worth thousands of dollars in software licenses, and whether Steam is around in 100 years or not, it feels wrong that your account is meant to just sit there and rot when you die. But unfortunately, like many of the games from my past, I made the mistake of believing that it would always be there, and now that I don't have the 360 hard drive that it was on, the store is no longer online, and the game has been fully delisted from Steam, this game is lost forever. 2024 was the year gamers really started pushing back on the erosion of game ownership, we said at the end of last year. Hello fellow travelers and welcome to the Hard Light Network. It's been a while since we've covered it, but in September of 2024, a law was introduced by the California state government that would go on to have sweeping effects in the broader gaming industry. Assembly Bill 2426 was introduced with the aim of protecting consumers from false advertising in digital goods. The introduction of this law would force online retailers to inform their customers that they were not in fact purchasing permanent products, but instead were purchasing fully revocable licenses. And while the scope of this licensing was thought to be limited merely to live service games that require an online connection to run, it turns out that every single game has been subject to this change. Even single-player games with no need for a persistent online connection are now fully revocable at the discretion of the developer. The introduction of this law sparked many conversations about the long-term preservation of video games, one of which was what would happen to your digital library in the event of your death. And that, of course, is the focus of today's video. But before we get into it, guys, do me a solid and hit that like button if you like this video. Subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the content that I've got coming up for you guys in the future. And also, don't forget to take to the comment section down below to leave your thoughts. And also, if you're feeling so inclined, you can support this channel further by utilizing the super thanks and memberships options down below. Feel free to join the channel for access to exclusive perks and content that you can't get anywhere else. With that being said, let's get into today's article. And today's reading comes to us from PC Gamer and is entitled, "It Still Makes Me Uneasy That My Hundreds of Steam Games Can't Be Passed On When I Die. At least not without violating the end-user license agreement." As a teenager, I really enjoyed the game Shoot Many Robots. It wasn't amazing, but it was a lot of dumb fun, and the memories I have playing it matter to me. Something Shoot Many Robots and I have in common is that we're both mortal, but while I am mere flesh and bone and Shoot Many Robots was delisted from Steam at the request of the publisher, it and all the other delisted games I own can experience a sort of immortality in my Steam library. When I'm dust, the number of Steam accounts with access to Shoot Many Robots will not change, but the number of people who can play the game above board will. Because bequeathing a Steam account in a will is technically a form of account sharing and against the terms of service. Some Steam accounts are worth thousands of dollars in software licenses, and whether Steam is around in 100 years or not, it feels wrong that your account is meant to just sit there and rot when you die. To be honest, I completely disagree with the author when he says that Shoot Many Robots wasn't amazing. I remember picking up this game through the Xbox Live Arcade back in the summer of 2012 and playing it for hours with my younger brother. But it really was a lot of dumb fun, and it had all of the charm and attraction of something like Left 4 Dead 2, but rather than being a first-person romp through zombie-infested America, it was a 2D side-scrolling adventure where you fought off waves of robots. But unfortunately, like many of the games from my past, I made the mistake of believing that it would always be there, and now that I don't have the 360 hard drive that it was on, the store is no longer online, and the game has been fully delisted from Steam, this game is lost forever. When we began the widespread societal shift away from physical products to a more digital medium, we were sold on the longevity of the internet. Hell, sometimes we were even warned about it, with people saying things like, whatever you post online will be there forever. However, that supposed longevity is no longer so certain, as the nature of service and licensing agreements becomes more clear. Regardless of the intrinsic monetary or sentimental value of your digital library, many of the companies providing these services simply aren't interested in preserving them. You can, of course, just pass your Steam username and password on to your next of kin before you kick the bucket, and I doubt anyone who's received such a gift has actually had it revoked by Valve. But the erosion of genuine media ownership still feels like a problem without a good solution in sight, and gamers are starting to make more noise about it. Quote, 2024 was the year gamers really started pushing back on the erosion of game ownership, we said at the end of last year. Steam isn't likely to go anywhere anytime soon, but an increasingly entropic games industry in which live service games frequently go belly up, or are just shut down because they got old, has galvanized the sentiment that preservation needs to be a priority moving forward, seen especially in the Stop Killing Games campaign. Storefronts like GOG do better than Steam when it comes to the fate of our libraries after death. GOG only sells DRM-free games, and their associated licenses come with offline installers that can be used forever, in theory. You can even bequeath your GOG library to someone else, given you have proof of your own death. For those of you who may be unaware, the Stop Killing Games initiative is a European-based campaign aimed at forcing certain European governments to prevent developers from shutting down online servers for games without at least providing players a way to continue playing those games offline. The initial focus for the campaign was directed at live service titles and was ignited after Ubisoft shut down the servers for the open-world racing game The Crew, as well as delisting the game from multiple people's libraries. Many gamers were rightly incensed that a game, despite its age or popularity, was simply removed from their digital libraries overnight. This controversy, combined with the discussion online surrounding the Stop Killing Games initiative, would ignite players' concerns about the long-term preservation of digital media. Gamers began altering their purchasing habits, a whole new wave of piracy began with renewed enthusiasm, and people began asking the question, what would happen to their libraries in the event of their death? But GOG notes that there is little to no existing legal guidance on the issue of video games preservation. It's one issue that standards are low, and another altogether that precedents haven't been set. None of this even existed until very recently. It seems to be an increasingly common sticking point that gamers demand more from the processes that govern game ownership, and if physical media can't be the answer for everything, sustainable digital alternatives may be necessary to ensure we can leave our games to future generations. At the same time, DRM clearly isn't going away. What's the middle ground? For me, it's clear that gamers need to become more serious and intentional with their purchases. As a whole, we need to stay out of the trap of the latest trendy titles and Game of the Week purchases. We need to become more serious about preserving the titles that are important to us, as well as critiquing the medium that we enjoy so much. One of the easiest and most accessible ways we can contribute to games preservation is by launching and participating in communities surrounding our favorite titles. By expanding the discourse around our favorite games, either through YouTube videos or through communities like Discord, we can increase the longevity and interaction of these titles. And with the advent of social media, it's actually easier than ever to provide feedback to the developers as well as publishers on your favorite titles. It's important that gamers not only make their grievances known after the fact when one of these controversies rears its ugly head, but we also need to encourage and support the developers when they do things that we enjoy. Likewise, we shouldn't let nostalgia cover for the mistakes and bad practices of companies that have produced games we've enjoyed in the past. At the end of the day, we don't owe these developers anything. They owe us for our continued patronage, and we owe it to ourselves to expect higher quality products and services for our time and money. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much to everybody who has watched up to this point. If you can, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the content that I've got coming up for you guys in the future. Also, don't forget to take to the comment section down below with your thoughts on this issue. Regardless of your particular tastes or interests, there's bound to be a game that you're personally interested in seeing make it to the future. Regardless of if it was the story, gameplay, or art direction of a particular game, or even just the memorable experiences that you had while playing, I'm certain that there's some experience that you want to share with others. So in the interest of preserving those memories, I'm asking you today to leave a comment down below about one of those games that was special to you when you were growing up. Take out a piece of paper and doodle one of your characters from a game long past. Create a YouTube video talking about your favorite niche video game. Or find a community somewhere online, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, or Discord, and just talk about the games that you've enjoyed. Regardless of if you share those memories in this community or in one that you start yourself, you'll be contributing to the legacy of those titles. But of course, we've still got a lot more to talk about, guys, so as always, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like, and until next time, love you guys, safe travels.